Hey everyone, welcome back to We Time Convo. I'm Debbie, and joining me today is my fabulous co-host, Liza. Hi, Liza.
Hey, Debbie. Excited for today's conversation.
Well, we've got something super close to my heart today. I'm actually in the middle of planning a debut for my daughter, Vanessa. So we're driving into the Filipinos' debut tradition. 18 roses, 18 candles, and all that magic. It's a rite of passage, but there's a lot more to it, especially for me as a mom.
And I can't wait to hear about all your experiences, Debbie. We're also going to talk about something that's really similar in other cultures, the Quinceañera. It's another coming of age celebration, but for girls turning 15. So today we're talking about how both of these traditions mark the big step into adulthood.
Exactly. We'll be exploring the roots, the rituals, and how these celebrations are evolving. Whether you're planning your own or just curious about the traditions, you're in for a fun conversation. Let's get into it.
So Debbie,
yes,
it's a rainy day today in San Jose. I like it.
I know. It's a little gloomy.
How are you? How's your week been?
My week is good. I was in San Francisco yesterday and it was so gloomy. It was raining. I hated that commute. And I realized that it's so crazy in California and like our microclimate of like earlier in the week, it was really beautiful. And then all of a sudden we have this gloom and doom, and today not so bad, but
I love the rain, but I don't like the rain when I'm in it. Like I need to be outside. At home. Okay. You know me, I like to be, I'm a home person. So today we are talking about debuts and quinceañeras and just the history about it. And this is a perfect episode for you because you are in the process of planning one for Nessa.
Maybe.
Oh, no. Okay. Do you want to get started kind of like on the history of debut and what
we can go ahead and we can talk about the history of both the debut and then we can move on to the quinceañera because it's really similar.
Oh, yeah.
But I can tell you my own personal experience. Like I've never had a debut. Have you?
No, because my parents offered me a car or a debut. And I said, fuck everyone else. I'm getting a car. So I got a cute little Volkswagen Beetle, a red one.
Oh,
and
very
I loved
cool.
it. I'm so happy.
Yes.
Because I feel like why, the party is about me, right? But then you're feeding everyone else. You're planning for everyone else to enjoy it with you.
Yes.
Like, hell no, I'm getting the car.
Got it.
Because it costs as much as a car, but we'll go into a little detail about how much it costs and, the big woo on, how a quinceañera and debut is.
Yes. Well,
and you didn't have one?
I did not. I didn't get the option. No. I did not get an option at all. It was just like, no, my mom is a very no fuss, no frills kind of gal. So it was never in her radar to give any of me or my sister a debut.
Yeah.
She's very practical that way. And so she just thinks it's a lot of fluff, waste of money. So she never put it in our head to want to have a debut. So that's probably the problem that I have right now is because I've never experienced it and I've never really cared for it, but my daughter does. So that's the struggle that I have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yes, we can dive in. So a debut, if our listeners don't know, it's a traditional Filipino celebration that marks a woman's coming of age, typically when she turns 18. So it's very similar to what we in the US considers a sweet 16, but with a distinct Filipino flavor.
So isn't it also called a cotillion or is that something else?
So I actually looked that up a little bit. So a debut is very specific to a Filipino tradition, and a cotillion, because we've used it interchangeably, actually a cotillion has a French origin to it. So it's a very similar but more French influenced culture, very similar to a debut.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was the same thing.
Yes, we use it interchangeably. Okay. But like I said, cotillion has a French origin to it.
So during the celebration, the debut celebration, there are a few things that happen during the celebration, right?
Yes, that makes it traditionally debut for Filipinos.
Yes. So one of the most significant traditions involves 18 roses, which the debutante is presented with 18 roses, each given by a special man. So usually they pick out family or friends. Yeah. Each man dances with her for a brief moment. The number 18 symbolizes maturity, and each rose represents someone important in her life. I like that.
Have you ever watched this 18 rose tradition?
Yeah, I actually was in one. So that goes to the next one. I actually was one of the 18 candles.
So I was one of the 18 candles. Yeah. And so the 18 candles is another iconic part of the debut. It is a ceremony where 18 women, often family or close friends, are asked to light a candle and offer a short speech or wish for the debutante's future. These speeches are usually heartfelt and personal. So that I've watched and I've participated in.
Same.
And I really like that as a ceremony because it does kind of take that moment because it is personal. And a debutante picks people that are close to her, and it's not often that you really express these very specific feelings. So it's really, I don't know, it's a special moment, I think. But going back to the 18 roses, I've seen this and it looks, I don't know, it looks very awkward and odd.
Yeah, because they're just dancing. I feel like if it was a mixture of 18 people total, like women and men, just kind of giving heartfelt messages, I think that I would have enjoyed that more. But the
dancing is very awkward, right?
Yes.
So I don't know. I
think it's because maybe a lot in our culture we're not very like affectionate.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but it is a very awkward moment.
I can tell you now, there's not 18 men in my life that I want to dance like that. Like not my brother, not my uncle, not my cousin. It's just weird, right?
Yes. So to me, I find that piece of the debut ceremony very awkward. But one thing that also comes in the debut outside of the 18 roses and candles is the formal dance. So there is a traditional waltz that the debutante often has, which includes a family member or another close person. And it's actually a highly anticipated part of the event. Now, I don't know, like if I remember some debuts, there's like a court. So basically you have this court of 18 people, right?
So 18 is used a lot. So is it 18 people total? Like 8?
So traditionally, my understanding, it's 18 men and 18 women.
In this waltz dance thing?
Well, like it in total, right?
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, you're talking about quite a number of people.
That's more than a wedding.
But I mean, that's my understanding.
Yeah.
But then also what I've seen, because that is huge, is 9-9, which is equivalent to 18. So you have 9 men,
that makes more sense. Yeah.
9 women. So as a couple, is it 9? Do we also include the debutante and her partner in that 9 total?
I don't know. My debut math is not mathing right here. So I'm assuming it's 9 additional because when you're doing the roses and the candles, you have 18, right? So I don't think it includes the.
But here's the thing, right? So these are very traditional customs. I think a lot of times now it is very adjusted to what works for you. So I know, like, for example, my niece, she had one and she really wasn't looking to couple everybody up. And so she was really, she just made sure she just had 9 men, 9 women. And that was her thing. Like, it didn't have to, and she didn't do a waltz. She didn't do because one other thing is that there is this dance that these couples do that is very traditional. And that I think is kind of cool, where you see all these, the whole court dancing simultaneously together, right? To some kind of choreography. But yeah, no, I mean,
I've been to one where they started with the waltz and then they did like more of a modern dance after. I would think that that's pretty cool, right? Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I was one of the 18 candles for my niece Jasmine's debut, and I enjoyed it. They did the traditional thing, but then they also did something a little more entertaining and more modern.
Now,
like a hip hop dance.
Actually have 18 people on, women and men?
Girl, I can't remember. I don't even remember what happened yesterday, but you know what? I don't remember it being that many people.
Okay.
I want to say it was 18 total.
Okay.
Like,
got it.
9. Is that 9 or 9?
9.
9 and 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next thing is the attire, of course.
It's like very formal.
Yeah. So the debutante typically wears a ball gown resembling a princess or a queen. And I mean, the people that she picks to be in her court, I mean, the guys are wearing suits.
Yes.
Kind of like, it's like a wedding.
Yes. And it's like a mini wedding.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the girls are wearing
ball gowns too.
Ball gowns or something a little like, kind of like
elevated.
What is that called when you get married and you pick
bridesmaids?
Bridesmaids dresses. A little, not because of course you want the debutante to stand out.
Yes.
And so the ones that I went to, they kind of look like a bridesmaids, the women in their court or girls in their court were bridesmaids looking, matching whatever their color is. Cause there is a theme. It's like a wedding. There's a theme and there's a color. So it's a big thing. It is like a mini wedding.
Yes. Yes. And I'll tell you, it is overwhelming to think about putting one together. The other thing in regards to this whole debut is really the significance of it, right? So from a cultural standpoint, it signifies her readiness to make decisions about her future, including love, education, personal values. And so it's really a rite of passage from a Filipino society perspective. And so it's a very important significance to a person's like coming of age.
Right.
And
then, there's a sweet 16, right? So you're not fully like an adult yet.
But the 18th is like a mark, right?
Like it's just kind of like letting you go. Like you're at that age where you can legally make your own decisions and your life and everything else. So,
but I've seen it's like such a production.
Yeah,
it is. So
let's jump into your experience.
Oh, God.
So Vanessa's turning 18 this year.
She's turning 18.
And you mentioned that she wanted a debut.
Yes, which she told me 2 years ago, which she reminded me.
Did you ask her or did she tell you that's what she wanted?
Well, what ended up happening was her cousin had a debut. And so dumb old me asked the stupid question of, oh, do you want a debut too? And she's like, yeah. And that was like 2 years ago. So I'm thinking like, oh, okay, no big deal. 2 years goes by so fast. And I think it dawned on me that she's really serious. Like this is her important one. And she gave me the examples. Like, I don't understand how you don't think this is important because you used to throw me so many amazing birthday parties, and which was true. If I think back, I used to really go all out for her birthday, the whole thing.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And so she's like, how would you think that this 18th birthday would not be a big deal for me? And I'm like, because it's such a grand scale. Like, I just want to take people out to like a restaurant, have dinner, and call it a day, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm fine with that. But this is a production. And I don't, the last production I did was at my wedding, which was 2 years ago. And a lot of that I outsourced to somebody. So the thought of doing this for my daughter and outsourcing it, number one, I am not prepared to spend that amount of money for.
Oh my gosh, yes.
What? And mind you, we're not talking about single digits. We're talking about double digits.
So can you throw a number out there?
So we looked at a couple of places, and obviously it's based on your number of guests.
So are you looking at like wedding venues?
Yes.
For these kind of things?
Like first, it wasn't even a wedding venue. I was like, okay, let's look at a couple of really nice restaurants.
Or halls. Or did you not look at the halls?
I didn't even look at a hall because, again, I didn't want to do the whole, I just wanted to go to a restaurant. They take care of everything, call it a day. But obviously you want it nice. So in this one particular restaurant, I was like, oh, this is cool. Let me go there. And they're like, look, we can accommodate up to 80 people. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Is that what your guest list looks like? Is it about 80 or?
My guest list is a little over 100 people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it makes sense for a Filipino
about 120
family.
people. And that's another story because how do you even define what this guest list looks like? And because every person counts, right? So we looked at this restaurant, and I'm not kidding you. It's beautiful, but the minimum, I kid you not, was $15,000 for food and beverage only.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. I'm not even kidding. That's only for food and beverage. It does not include the decorations. It doesn't include the flowers. It doesn't include her dress. It doesn't include the photographer. It does not include the extras.
Just all the little things that add up. Yeah.
So I'm easily looking. And mind you, I would love to do it here because it's beautiful. Number one, it can only accommodate 80 people, which means that I have to go back to our list and probably cut 40, which is, I don't even know how to do that.
Girl, with that number that you're throwing out now, if you don't invite me, I'm okay with that. Because I get it. I'm like literally about to fall off my chair right now. Just my jaw dropped with that.
I'm not kidding you.
Price.
If I have to estimate it, it's probably going to cost me close to $25,000. And it's not like I'm putting this on a card.
And I get why my parents offered the car.
Yes.
Because it left out the planning, it left out all of that. And yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I don't even want to put it on a card. Like, you have to take a personal loan for something like this, or you got to pay it out of pocket, right? So that's why I say, like, hey, she told me 2 years ago, but I wasn't really serious. And then when it came to me and dawned on me, I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot of money that I'm dishing out, whether it's a personal loan, whether it's coming out of our savings. Like, it's $25,000 for an 18-year-old. That's really where it came down to.
I mean, that's kind of like college tuition too.
For a year or two. Yeah. Yes. And so I was just like, I'm struggling right now because now we looked at another venue, which was more reasonable. But again, it can only accommodate up to like 75 people, which means that we have to cut the list. And then another thing was it ends at 10. So, and she didn't like that because she's like, Mom, that's too early. Like, she wants to dance and she wants to do this. So I said, okay, let's look at another venue. Again, another wedding. It's actually a ballroom at a hotel, which, lucky or unlucky, they were able to go down on the minimum. But because it's in a hotel, it's a ballroom. It's like you have to obviously create an experience.
You have to decorate it. You have to do the little drop things on the ceiling.
Whatever. Yeah. Right. And so that in itself, like, you still have the food and beverage, but then now you're spending money on actually creating an experience because it's a ballroom. Right. And so that's my other struggle because, and then to top it off, she's like, Mom, I don't want balloons. Like, so you know how balloons.
Oh, like the balloon arch and all that.
Decorations. Yeah. It's like, she was like, I don't want balloons. I want flowers.
Oh no. And that's even more expensive.
Yes. So again, I'm trying to figure out, how do I get away with not spending, like, going into the double digits?
So I have a question. What is Peter's take on all of this?
So Peter, he wants to give it to her, but I think he's also kind of sticker shock for somebody at her age to have such a lavish expense, right? Because when you're talking about double digits, it's mind blowing. I think he is more in a way like, hey, if we can go to dinner and he's willing to spend $6,000-7,000 on her, it's not an issue. But when we're talking about over 10, close to 15, then you're kind of going, is it really worth it? Right? Yeah. So it's a struggle because
when you think about it, right? Like I have 3 girls. Mm-hmm. And well, Haley's already grown, but you have Vanessa, you just have your baby, right?
Yes.
If I give one to one, I got to do it for all. So like, you gotta also, like, other parents have to think about that, right?
Yes. And, for me, I mean, she is my one, but I mean, even my one, and that's the struggle, right? Because I want to give her everything. I want to make her happy, but yet there's the practicality of, like, is this really what makes sense, because it absolutely doesn't make sense. But like, how do I bring myself? Because I want to give it to her, but it's just, I don't know, considering the amount of expenses for the year, which, like I said, she's turning 18, debut. Next thing is her prom. So that's going to cost money. Next thing is her graduation. That's going to cost money. Then the next thing, she wants to do a senior trip to Hawaii. That's going to cost money. And then on top of that, she's going to go off to college. So like in 1 year, I'm thinking like that just continues to add up.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. And that's a lot going on in a year too, for sure.
Yes. And so because she's my one, obviously for me, it's like, well, it's not like I'm going to do it again unless Peter decides that his daughter wants to do it. But, that's a different story, because obviously he'll have support from his ex-wife. But like, this is crazy to me. It's crazy to me because I've looked at, like kind of some quotes, and it's insane. It's insane, the amount of money for one night. I think that's what it is. It's the amount of money for one night. Like, it would have been different, I think, if it was like taking her on a trip or
even a wedding, because you're just letting your child go with someone else for the rest of their life. Like, take him or take her, right? But like, she's still yours.
Yes. Well, and here's the thing, right? Like, I would prefer it after she's done with college. Because like for me, that's probably the big thing, is that like I really want.
It's a big milestone.
That's a big milestone, right? Is like once you graduate from college, that really to me signifies that you've really done your part, right? And so, like right now, I've been like, so are you getting a job? And she's like, I'm trying. And I'm like, I've seen her try, but at the end of the day, it's still, I don't know, it's just an expense that I'm just blown away.
I don't even know what to say. I don't have like, it's like you said, it's a lot of money, but then at the same time,
people do it.
It's a really nice memory. It's a really nice
Parents
thing to do.
It.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like a lot of parents that do this is they are fine with spending that money. I mean, they do it.
Good for them.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, like that's the thing. If I could, I need to come to terms that I'm okay with that. And I don't know if I'm not there yet.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you really know until after the event. Right? Everything goes well and you're like, was it worth it? Was that smile on her face that, was it worth it?
Well, I think that's another thing, like the guest list, because that's actually what drives the expense a lot, is also your guest list, right? So we have it. And that's one of the reasons why Peter and I decided to get married out away from here, is really like, you want to invite everybody, of course, but trying to invite everybody is not going to get, you're not going to get the party that you want, because everything causes an expense, right? But then how do you cut people off your guest list? So Peter and I decided,
without hurting anyone's feelings, without.
Well, here's the other thing. I don't even know if some of these people care to go, but they probably feel like obligated to go because they got invited. So like, it's like a double whammy. You're asking somebody because you feel the obligation to ask them, but then they're obligated to actually attend, when in reality, they probably don't really care to.
Right.
So like, you're just in this situation of just, I don't know.
Not to mention you have other family members putting their 2 cents in who to invite and who not to invite, right?
So I'm lucky I don't have that. And, for my daughter, she obviously wants to invite more of her friends. But I'm like, okay, how can you invite more of your friends and not your cousin that lives here? like, you know what I mean?
I mean, she probably has more of a relationship.
But
right?
But that's the thing, right? But then how do you not invite her cousin, who she does see like moments during the year when we have, Christmas or, a special event. Mm-hmm. But then yet she's like, but I don't really talk to them. So I'd rather invite so-and-so than like, my cousin.
I mean, and here's the thing with her for sure.
And then her cousin's probably like, I don't really care if I go or not. but then they might feel some type of way because like, how could you not invite me? So I don't know. It's just a very sticky situation.
I think regardless, it's you cut the guest list down. Someone's gonna say something. I mean, you just have to not give a shit about it.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Not
and I think if they're really like your friends or your family, they would understand the cost and why you had to do it and the kind of relationship they have with Vanessa and you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, I'm blown away. Like over 100 people. Like when we started doing the guest list, it was like over 100 people, close to like 120 people.
Another question is, if she does have this debut, you do plan it. People give gifts, like usually it's monetary, like money. Do you take that money, or is that money for her?
Well,
is it like giving back into
the pot that I spent?
'Cause you know what? I'm not gonna lie. My kids have birthday parties. They give them money. Sometimes I keep it because I spent so much money on the party, and sometimes I put it in their bank. Like,
to me, I would imagine it's a combination of both, right? Because even though I take it, it goes back to her anyways in some shape or form. Right? I mean, her Hawaii trip, she said, hey, Mom, I'll pay for the Hawaii trip because I'll get a job by then. Well, guess what? You don't have a job and yet you still have to go to Hawaii. Like, you have to go to Hawaii. How can you not go to Hawaii? So like, I'm fronting that. But in reality, she said that she was going to pay for it. So in my mind, if I do the debut and I keep that, it really is going to her for her Hawaii trip that I did an advance payment for. So regardless if I give it to her directly or if I keep it, in some shape or form, it goes back to her.
Yeah.
So I don't feel guilty.
So where are you at in the planning phase right now? Are you moving forward with doing this?
So where I'm at is I have taken a look at a couple of venues. I feel like I need to take a look at a couple more venues because right now I'm leaning towards the one in the hotel. But the problem, the challenge with that is I'm going to spend a lot more on the decorations than I really wanted to. But the hotel was really good because I think, they threw in a couple of extras and then, again, we can party up until 11:30. So that's the plus is that, and then we obviously will get a hotel. So even after the party, we'll just go straight up into our room. So it's very convenient, but it is the decorations and the cost of the decor that's giving me pain.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, well, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's see if there's a good restaurant that, again, we don't have to spend too much on the decoration, but I'm okay spending more on, the beverage and food minimum.
Did she want to do the traditional route of having a waltz? Because then you have to hire a choreographer, right?
No, she doesn't really care for that. Okay. I think what she cares for is, obviously bringing everybody together and the dancing and obviously making sure that, there's a wow factor that she can, be happy about. And I don't think she really cares for the actual tradition of a debut where you're like doing the waltz. I think she would like to do the candle and the roses, but at a smaller scale. And whether or not, she wants them coupled up, I don't think she cares about that either.
Yeah.
So,
well, good luck on that.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I need it. Yeah. I really need it.
I'm really hurting for you, like financially. If we get a sponsor by then, maybe.
My recommendation is if you are thinking about it and you are going to throw your child a debut, save that money up because you're going to have a sticker shock to realize how much that's going to cost. And see, this is the other problem. I like nice things. So if I was fine,
you and Peter are pretty the same.
I would be fine if I didn't really care, right? But I like nice things, so I have a certain vision that once I commit to it, I'm gonna be committed to it, and that's the part that scares me is that my vision costs money.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I thank you for feeling for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see where this goes. So. Let's jump into the next thing, which is a quinceañera. So a quinceañera is a Latin American tradition primarily celebrated in countries like Mexico, Puerto Rico, and other parts of Central and South America, marking a girl's transition from childhood to womanhood at the age 15. So it's funny because my kids, well, Ava and Violet, they're half Hispanic and half Filipino. So Ava tried to pull the, do I get a quinceañera at 15? And do I get a debut at 18? I said, no. I was a bit like your mom. Like, that's not going to happen, because if I do this for you, I got to do it for Violet. I'm not financially ready at that point to give you that. So, you know, Ava's turning 18 as well this year. And she just was like, you know, I'm just going to have a house party. So I'm very happy with that.
Very good.
Like, you know, I'll invite my friends, have food, and that's it. So I'm very, very happy that she didn't want both. Well, she wasn't going to get both anyways. So anyways, so yes, this is kind of like a debut.
Yes, but I feel like a quinceañera has more of a religious, and I guess a debut in some senses would, but with a quinceañera, it sounds like the celebration would typically begin with a religious mass, where the quinceañera thanks God for her life and asks for blessings as she enters womanhood. So it's a very, her relationship with God. So very religious aspect that I don't necessarily see in a debut. Would you agree?
No, I mean, I've been to quite a few debuts, and I've never seen
the religious
like
aspect of it, right? Yeah. So I think that's kind of like the nuance. And at 15, I don't know if I could even throw a quinceañera if it's in the same scale as a debut. At 15, I'd be like, oh my God.
Yeah. So, I mean, same thing with the dress, right? They wear big, elaborate ball gowns, which is a big thing.
Princess-like.
Yeah. And then there's a father-daughter dance, which I really like.
Yes.
And then and they do the 15 roses or candles. So just like the 18 roses in the debut, in a quinceañera, the celebrant often receives 15 roses or candles. These gifts represent important people in the girl's life, and each person typically presents the roses or candles while sharing a heartfelt message or blessing.
So they basically cut it short.
Right. To 15. And I think... don't get me wrong, but I think so. One of David's nieces, they were in the process of planning a quinceañera, but she opted out of it, and I think she just got a regular party instead. But her godparents actually each have to pitch in to buy something for the quinceañera.
So I read about that as well. When you throw a quinceañera, you do identify godparents, and then the godparents are then responsible for an aspect of the quinceañera. So that kind of alleviates some of the financial pressure of throwing one.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I heard about that. And then the vows and party. So there's actually a formal waltz, which often is part of the celebration. So, again, party with music, dancing, and plenty of food. So it's a community celebration.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. The symbolism of a quinceañera emphasizes family ties, community, and faith.
Yeah. I feel like the quinceañera is a lot more money saving. Mm-hmm. So you should probably just do a quinceañera. But then try to fit that in, right?
So fun fact, I was actually in a quinceañera when I was growing up.
Were you really?
Yes.
Was it a big elaborate thing? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
My best friend at the time, she was Mexican, and she got thrown a quinceañera, and that whole ball gown. So she was in a beautiful dress, but guess what? Because we were part of her court or vow, we also got dressed up in a ball gown. So I remember having like this elaborate dress with the petticoats underneath to kind of, puff that out.
Wow.
But yeah,
that's extra.
Fact. Yeah.
Did you have a good time?
From what girl, you're having me think really long, but yes, it's beautiful because, you see it's a beautiful moment. I mean, I can't deny that these are very special moments and something that you'll always remember. So when we think about key comparisons between a debut and a quinceañera, so the age and the culture significance, the debut, 18th it's in the Philippines, and a quinceañera is celebrated at 15 Latin American cultures.
Yeah.
And then, as we say, rituals, both are very symbolic, and it represents significant milestones in a girl's life. Like, do you buy this? Do you buy this whole like idea?
No. Obviously not, because none of my girls had it. I didn't want one. And it how is that fair for if you have a boy? Like, what do they get?
I don't know. I think they also get a party, but yeah, you're right. I mean, this is they
don't get the ball gown. They don't get like this big elaborate party, or, my brother was never even offered a car at, 18. So I don't buy into it. Like, I get the symbolism. I get, wanting to celebrate, like, your daughter going to womanhood or being an adult, or, doing it, for religious purposes. I get it. If you want to do it, you have the money to do it the way you want to do it, make your kids happy, by all means, do it. Mm-hmm. Right. But for me, I'm just more like I'm practical. I'm more like, okay, like, who are we entertaining here? Like, my family, I have a huge family. We all live here. So like, we have a party every weekend. So no, I don't buy into it. But I get it. I get the party. I get the symbolism. I get why girls want to do it, but I just don't. Do you?
Well, hello. I grew up not even having the option. Yeah. So I didn't even know what I was missing, right? Like, I don't even feel like I missed anything. My sister didn't have it. She didn't give it to her kids or to her 2 girls. But then I do have a portion of my family that has done it. And I don't ever feel like I missed out. I guess that's my thing. I didn't feel like I missed out. And to be honest, probably the people that I picked at 18, I don't know if I would necessarily be talking to them at my age now, right? Because
that's true.
So to me, I'm just kind of like, but I know my daughter wants it because she's seen it. She has friends that are doing it. And so that's the tug that I have, is that I know she wants it. And just like a parent, you want to give them. And it's not like that my daughter is a bad kid. She's a good kid.
She's great. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's my struggle.
Yeah.
But the amount of money being thrown at these events is insane.
And I mean, not to mention right now, this day, like, everything's expensive right now.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Like, honestly, I don't see any way around it. If we're going to throw it for her, it's definitely going to be in the double digits.
Yeah.
And that's a hard pill to swallow right now.
Yeah. Well, good luck to you and Peter. So.
Yes. Yeah. So debut and quinceañera, plan for it.
Yeah.
Not like me, 2 months in.
Yeah. Plan for it years in advance.
Yes.
Because it's going to come quick, and get ready to spend a lot of money.
Yep.
Thank you guys for listening.